Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Sunday Night Football with Bengal Jim and Friends. Hey, so tonight we're missing somebody on the screen. So we have James on the screen here from Brownsburg, Indiana, and Jamie from Hamilton, Canada. Probably the closest we've been to Brantford all year. Is feeling under the weather and not able to join us today. So. James, what's up, buddy? Welcome, and got another good show going on tonight. A lot of good guests tonight.
Excited. All good here in Indiana. Ready for the show. As we talked about the end of last week's show, school started last week for the little guy. 2 days in, and he hasn't been expelled, so that's good. And I guess summer's over, so that means it's fall and football's around the corner. So hopefully that'll happen sooner than later.
It's always good when you don't get the call from school to come pick up your kid. Yeah. Good day.
Yeah. 2 days in, no call from the principal.
Yep. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Got a great lineup. Big news this week, everybody. So, obviously, Joe Burrow and T. Higgins signed the dotted line, and they're under contract now. So, all of our rookies are under contract, ready to go for the season. Actually, I was downtown walking again today, and I know a lot of the players were downtown in Paul Brown Stadium yesterday and today as well. So, exciting news about Joe Burrow and T. Higgins getting signed and get this season underway. And kind of a lineup tonight, just to let you know, we have M.L. Harris, very interesting Bengal, great guy, still in the Ohio area, up in the Columbus area. Canadian football player for 4 years, 6-year Bengal, had a great career in Cincinnati. We'll talk to M.L. Harris, another nice guy, another Bengal OG we get to talk to today. Bengal History 101. We're going to dig into a little bit of the Freezer Bowl today, since in honor of our guest M.L. Harris playing in the Freezer Bowl. Tom Justin and I will dig into the week before the Freezer Bowl, the day of, the morning of, and then the game. We'll talk about the Freezer Bowl on our Bengals History 101 segment today. Fans of the week, Sue and Tom from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Diehard Bengal fans, not from Cincinnati, in the middle of Packer territory, always wearing their orange and black. You'll have fun talking to these guys today. And we'll finish with a question of the weekend to tie into the rookie signings, including Joe Burrow. So, James, I think we just hop right in it. So, Jamie, feeling under the weather today, not able to join us. He is producing everything still, not feeling well. And he says he's not looking well, so he's not going to put his face on the screen with us today. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and Jamie, if you could bring on ML, let's get him on. Yeah. ML, what's going on, big dog? How you doing?
How y'all doing?
Good, man. Okay, thanks for joining us. So one of the things we always do, ML, is we do a quick intro for you. And one of the things we always do for a guest is we tie into some sort of giveaway. We're streaming live right now to Facebook and YouTube. Tons of people are making comments right now. And we always tie in a trivia question for some sort of giveaway. And we're going back to this because nobody got it right last week. But we are going to go This Day in Bengal History book by Jeff Hobson to the person that guesses when ML was a sophomore in high school. We need his height and weight together. And it's going to be the closest one to it. I think we might get somebody to get close, but if it's going to be his height and weight when he was a sophomore in high school will be the guess. And when ML gets off, right before he gets off, we'll announce who that winner is, and we'll put some guesses up there, ML. So ML is an ordained pastor, undrafted out of Kansas State, played for a few Canadian Football League teams, the Hamilton Tiger Cats from 76 to 77, the Toronto Argonauts from 78 to 79. He played for the Bengals from 80 to 85, and there's a great story about how he got to Cincinnati. He played tight end and special teams, played in the Freezer Bowl and Super Bowl 16. 6-year career for the Bengals, 99 receptions, almost 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns. Great guy. And ML, welcome to the show. Thanks for being with us, buddy.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Good, man. Good. So I guess, I guess before we get into, we have a couple video clips, game clips of you, ML. But I guess before we get into it, help us understand. So when you played at Kansas State, you were a free safety, right?
Right. I was a free safety, and Ellis Rainsberger, who was the head coach at the time, we were at practice, and the offensive slot and running back was not producing the way he wanted. So I was on defense lined up, and I was clowning around as usual. And they ran a play, and guy came across the ran an in route, and then there was one guy came deep, and I was supposed to be deeper than the deepest guy, and I caught in the middle. And so what happened was the quarterback threw the ball, and I said, "Oh!" and I broke, tried to get back and recover, and jumped up and went backwards and caught the ball with one hand. That was my end of the days of
That's it.
defense.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we're going to get right into a clip. And on this clip, ML, are two specific plays. And there's about 3 or 4 questions we want to ask you off these clips. So we're going to go ahead. And, Jamie, if you could play these clips for ML right now. That's clip.
Bounce. Harris. Yeah. ML Harris comes down with it in the end zone. What a beautiful touch on that pass. That was beautiful. That was lovely. Nice catch by Harris, but the ball was laid right over a linebacker, right in his hand. ML Harris played 4 years up the Canadian Football League. One of those years he played with Boris Gregg at Toronto. Gregg liked what he saw when he got the head coaching job at Cincinnati. He did not forget ML Harris. That's really pretty. Beautifully thrown ball. Throw the ball. He really can.
The Cincinnati Bengals were poised to win their first of the season when quarterback Ken Anderson hit tight end ML Harris with an 80-yard touchdown pass 18 seconds into the second half. The score put the Bengals ahead 16-13, and the win.
So, ML, I love these old clips, man. I love seeing those old clips. So a lot of questions off a couple of those clips. So that first clip, as you could hear the announcers talking, how did you get from the Canadian Football League to the Cincinnati Bengals? And I know you had offers out there from 5 other teams, and the Bengals kind of came in last minute. So how did that all go down between going from the Argonauts to Cincinnati? How'd that all go down?
Well, I was actually on my way to catch a plane to go to Minnesota to sign, and I got they contacted my grandmother, who in return got a hold of me, and they told her to get the information to me, and I called them, and they said, before you do anything, before you sign, give us a chance to talk to you. And so I told them I would, and I went down, and if Forrest Gregg wouldn't have been there, I probably wouldn't have done it, even though I knew a lot of the players that was on the team, especially the Ohio players. And so I just went in and talked with them, decided staying closer to home was going to be better than me just going over to Minnesota. Family could still be involved in what I'm doing. I knew this was my last stop. So
yeah.
I just stayed home.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, obviously, that's you answered the other part of that one question too. Obviously, Forrest Gregg had a big part to do with that, right? So you were with Forrest Gregg in Toronto in '79,
right?
So he came to Cincinnati in '80. So he didn't really physically bring you with him at the same time. It would just happened to be in Cincinnati.
Right. But he did have something to do with me getting. I had 2 years left on my contract up in Toronto, so the story behind the scene was he was able to get me released.
Oh, got it. Got it. So he negotiated you out of that contract. Good,
Right.
good stuff. Good stuff. So it's just awesome. I mean, you caught passes from Ken Anderson. You caught passes from Boomer Esiason, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And that first clip was a 1982 Monday Night Football game against the Chargers. That was the strike shortened year that year. And they got their revenge on us that game, but going out to San Diego. But in that game, I mean, there was over 1,100 yards of total offense. Kenny Anderson was 40 of 56, 400 plus yards passing, 84 total points scored in that Monday night game. I think on the Bengals there was 9 different receivers, including yourself, that caught passes that night. Do you remember that game, that Monday night game out in San Diego in '82 at all?
I do remember that game because
Hey, ML, we lost you there for a second.
yeah.
He's good.
Can you hear me?
Hey, Jamie, looks like we're having a problem.
I can hear him fine.
Oh, okay. I remember that game. Can you hear me yet?
I can hear you fine, ML.
Okay. And what took place that night, man, was like a track meet. And I just remember the ball being in the air a lot. It was my first fun Monday night football game. So, it was exciting. I was pumped up for that, just like the rest of my teammates were. We was ready to go. There was the ball was in the air a lot that night.
Going back to the CFL, as we talked about, you started with Hamilton, ended with Toronto. Talk about that transition from a CFL offense with the different rules, the different size of the field, transitioning to the NFL.
Well, it wasn't really that much of a transition for me because I spent most of my life playing American football, and I only had 4 years up in the Canadian League. I was struggling to get used to that. People being able to 5 people can go towards the line of scrimmage at one time, and just going towards the line of scrimmage alone, just one person, in the NFL or in the American football is an emotion, So that took me some time getting used to that and the size of the field. And then you had that extra player on the field up there in Canada. So it was just like coming back home and lining back up with what I learned and what I knew best was the rules of American football.
Yeah, it's crazy. So in Canada, you played against Terry Metcalf or with Terry, with or against him?
With Terry.
Yep, great.
Terry Metcalf. Yep. Yeah, right.
Warren Moon played against you as well?
Absolutely. I hated playing against that guy, man. He just saved us up.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you remember a name, and I'm only bringing this name up not because of his CFL playing days, but because of his son just now signing with the Cincinnati Bengals. Jim Burrow played for Montreal Alouettes. I don't know if you remember that name at all.
I do not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was actually looking for some clips from you, ML, from the Canadian League, and I wound up finding Jim Burrow intercepting a couple passes, Joe Burrow's father. So I'm like,
okay,
that was pretty cool. So. I listened to an interview that you did many years ago, and it was a story about when you were at Kansas State, you were playing free safety, and you guys were playing Oklahoma. And Joe Washington, who was a hell of an NFL player, I think he won a Super Bowl with a running back, won a Super Bowl with Washington. I think he played for a couple different NFL teams. Great player. And you might have been talking a little trash to him during the week, but you were playing free safety, and you were talking about how you were going to light him up. So what happened at that point, ML, before that game?
Well, what ended up happening was I was switched that very week to offense. And so I wasn't going to have an opportunity to face him on defense, but I had an opportunity to face him on a kickoff. And no, it was a punt. So we punted to them, and I had him lined up just right. I was just getting ready to do what I said other people wasn't going to do and what couldn't do and stuff like that. And I remember him catching the ball. And when he caught the ball, he put his head down. And he looked right at me. And then he started backpedaling. And I said, what is he doing? He's creating distance and he's causing lanes to happen on our coverage. And as soon as I got near him, he disappeared. I was flat on my face. I'm grabbing for air. I'm listening totally. And I'm like, what in the world just happened? And I just, when you look at film, you can see what he did. But, when backpedaling, he created the distance that he needed to be able to create a crease. And I didn't break down. Like I said, you have to do the tackle Washington. I was going to run right through him. And all I hit was air.
But in that game, you wound up going from free safety. Where did you wind up playing in that game? Running back?
It was tailback, yes.
Tailback, man. So versatile. Damn, you went from free safety to tailback.
Well, that was a nightmare too. So
my bad. I didn't mean to bring that up, ML.
they had Leroy and Dewey Spellman on the defensive line. It was crazy, man. They had an awesome team.
A game you wanted to forget, and I'm making you think about it. My bad, ML. All right, so Jim, we're going to play another clip here, and I obviously, anytime you do interviews, ML, I'm sure this game comes up a lot, but I do want to play another clip here. We got a bunch of questions for you on this one as well. So go ahead, Jamie, and play this next clip number 2.
Collinsworth, the rookie, bottom of your screen. Curtis on the far side. Anderson to throw. Touchdown! M.L. Harris. M.L. Harris, who came to Cincinnati with Forrest Gregg from the Toronto Argonauts. He may just like this kind of weather. Scored 2 touchdowns during the year, had just 13 catches. Michael Lee. Harris makes it 9-0.
A crisp pass and a fine catch. Anderson able to spot the open receiver. One of the advantages he'll have today. He throws more to the.
So Michael Lee, ML. Now everybody knows. So I think there was a comment made. The comment made, ML, that you may just like that weather because you came from the Canadian Football League. That's not true, is it?
No, I don't like cold. I like heat. Yeah.
So let's talk. Yeah, let's talk about that game. 59 below zero with the wind chill. Bengals come out and pound San Diego 27-7. I don't care what Dan Fouts says today. He can cry all he wants. We beat them twice that year. You guys beat them about 6 weeks prior to that game in San Diego. We thumped them then. Then they complained about having to play in the cold. So, but that 8-yard touchdown, ML, was one of the most iconic touchdowns in Cincinnati playoff history. It was the first time the Bengals had been to the playoff in 70, 73, 75, and then there in 81. That was the first time a Bengals tight end had caught a touchdown in the Bengals history. So let's talk about that week before, because what people don't realize, ML, is like you guys were practicing outside prior to that week.
Yes, in that cold, and we looked like robots out there because we had several layers of clothes on. And it was very cold, and Forrest Gregg didn't care. He just said, this is what we're going to play in, so we're going to practice in it. And so he got us out there. We practiced for over an hour out there in that cold. And but, it worked out for us.
Yeah, practicing in that cold weather, did that obviously have a big bearing on the game, get you ready for what you were going to feel for that?
I believe so. I believe it had a lot to do with it because we weren't babying ourselves. And so, it was colder the week before the game. So it seemed to feel like that to us. And because we're out there like that, and your adrenaline's not flowing, I guarantee you that. It was flowing in the game. So that helped a lot, with your adrenaline flowing and the things that we was able to put on to help block some of that wind, the skin lube, greasing ourselves down real good, and so that it didn't penetrate real hard. One other thing, some of the guys put on pantyhose, so that worked, though. It worked. And so that helped a lot as well. And the fact that we were more into the game than we were into the elements.
Good.
Did the game plan change much that week once you knew how cold it was going to be?
No, not at all. I mean, I remember running our pass routes doing our 7-on-7 and things like that. And I had street gloves on at the time, and I had taped them to my wrist. I had them on in the game too. And they were throwing the ball to me, and Forrest Gray came up to me and said, "Harris, are you planning on wearing those street gloves in the game?" I said, "Absolutely." He said, "Well, you better not drop the ball." Okay, I won't. I mean, just, because they were warm. They had fur on the inside.
Yeah.
So
in the huddle for that 8-yard touchdown that you scored to make the game 10-0, what was said in that huddle? Was that play call for you? Did Kenny call a different play? What was the call in the huddle?
Well, it was actually a read play. He was going to go to either one of the tight ends. If I was open, he was going to me. If I had the one defender on me, then he was coming to me. If Dan Ross had two on him, then they was going to, vert away from him and come to the open guy. So whoever had one defender on them, that's who they were coming to.
So when did you realize, when right as the ball snapped, you got one defender, it's me, I'm getting this touchdown?
Before the ball snapped, you know what's happening.
Yeah.
Because you get your pre-snap read.
You can read.
Right. And Kenny knew, I knew, the only thing I had to do was not run too deep and get turned around and catch the ball.
Man, it was on you. You broke, it was on you. So
absolutely. In fact, the ball almost came through my gloves. You got stuck there in my face.
Oh, that was awesome. That's good stuff, man. Man. So talk about not that game at this point, man. Talk about the 81 team, man. That was a special team. And from 80, when you got there in 80 with Forrest Gregg, it was a good team in 80. You guys used to have a great year. You lost some close games. He was putting all the pieces together at that point. But why the big change from 80 to 81? What was it about that team? Give us some background on that team and how good they were and how close you guys were.
Well, I think that what happened was we came together in training camp, and about 15 of us used to have a early morning devotion before we went out to practice, or before we went to breakfast, actually. And we just really believed that we could do more than what we did last year, that we had an opportunity to go and play in the Super Bowl. I was believing that from the day I came to Cincinnati, we was going to the Super Bowl, because that was my prayer. I'm asking God, hey, open the door for us to do this and go to the Super Bowl, and I believed that. And I knew that we was going to have to work and be on one accord, on the same page. And one of the things that we did as Bengals that year was we made few mistakes. We capitalized on other people's mistakes. We really pulled together as a team. We had a lot of awesome guys on that team with great character, integrity. We came together like I've never experienced that before on any other team.
Yeah. Who were some of the guys you were closest to, ML?
Anthony Munoz, Guy Frazier, Isaac Curtis, Louis Breeden, Robert Jackson, David Fulcher when he came in, but it wasn't on that particular team.
Yep.
There was Eddie Edward. I mean, we had that camaraderie. So Max Montoya, Booz Glenn.
Hey, Glenn Bushnach's crazy. I know it.
We want to remind everybody that's tuning in, feel free to type in your questions if you have one for ML. I'm going to go with one. ML, can you tell us about the Boys Academy that you run up there in Columbus Metro?
Yes, the ML Harris All Boys Academy is a mentorship program which we house them. This is a 24/7 type program. Now we have to reopen and get started for this year, but we haven't done that yet. But we're getting ready to do that. And what our focus is helping those young men to develop and accomplish their goals and be prepared for the next level, whether they're going to college, trade school, start their own business, whatever it is that they have identified as their goal. and we put mentors with them and help them to make it to their destiny. That's something I wish I'd had. I'd have made less mistakes and gotten there a lot faster than what I did. It's probably stayed a little longer.
Yeah.
Is there a website or Facebook page for somebody that wants to learn more about that, ML?
ML Harris, allboysacademy.com.
Okay, well, thank you. We'll have Jamie post that up there, and we'll share it on the social media links. One of the questions from the fans is, who was the toughest Bengal you played with? And that's from our buddy Mon.
Toughest Bengal?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow. That's hard to say.
I don't know if that means mentally tough, physically tough.
I mean, we had –
answer it how you would like.
Yeah, we had some guys. It's hard to pick any one particular guy out. I mean, I played with some guys that would thump you, so out there, we had and they weren't just the big guys. You had Al Harris. We had, Bo Harris on there. You had even Guy Frazier. No one talks a lot about Guy Frazier. He was out there thumping people. Reggie Williams and, Jim LeClaire. You had Robert Jackson in the backfield. You had, Lewis even came up with, could put a hit on you. So we had some guys who were tough guys that, they really didn't hit us. I'm glad they didn't hit us because, we're a team. So.
All right, here's another question, ML, from our buddy Craig. How much do you think the tight end position has changed from your era to today?
It changed a lot. It was beginning to change when I was there. Splitting out the tight end. Tight end was a true tight end when I was there, with some variations to, splitting out about 5 yards from the tackle or coming out of the backfield and things like that. They was really starting to do that then, but not on the level on which they do now. I mean, you don't even know whether a person's really a tight end or not because they flanked out like wide receivers. They're always in motion, and which is great. Which is great. I'm not hating on that. I just wish I had an opportunity to do a lot of that stuff as well.
Yeah, that's good.
Who would you, if there was a modern day player, who would you say is most comparable to you when you played ML? Especially looking at the tight end position.
You're not going to believe this. I mean, I'm really not watching it that much. I don't really have the time to watch the guys and who's doing what and stuff like that. So I don't watch a lot of football. If I do, it's going to be highlights.
Yeah, you got a lot of stuff you're into, ML. We understand.
Yeah,
we understand.
So tell us about that now, ML. You mentioned the All Boys Academy, and you're a pastor. Can you elaborate on being a pastor now as a post NFL career?
Oh yeah, well, even when I was playing, I was beginning to move into that area. And doing a lot of evangelistic work, going out traveling and going to churches and ministering and things like that. Anthony Munoz, we used to go to the military bases in Hawaii and minister to the military personnel and those type of things. And now it's a lot better to be able to be at home and not just traveling all the time. You're able to, pastor and pour into someone's life and encourage them. And that's what it's about, encouraging people to have hope and to move forward and know that, you have, Christ who's spent his life for you and you have an opportunity now to do something great with your life.
Yeah, ML, talk about, before we get into some of the guesses on your height and weight as a sophomore in high school, talk about, you gave your life to Christ, I think, in the mid-late 70s. Talk about that and how it changed your life.
Well, I was pretty radical and crazy acting before the Lord. I was up in Canada and I was just wild. I just didn't have any regard for life itself. I just was living a wild life, just experiencing something I never experienced before, coming out of the inner city and having some money now and just partying and doing the different things like that. But what ended up happening was while I was still in Canada, in '77, I had an experience with the Lord, and I gave my life to Christ, and it literally changed me. It turned this wild, crazy acting guy into someone loving and caring about his fellow man, and wanting to see the best happen for everybody, not just for me. And it just changed my way of thinking, where I was not thinking about self all the time, but thinking about the one next to me.
Yeah, I love it. I was hoping you'd talk about that if we asked that question. I'd love people to hear that story, man. It means a lot, ML. So we're going to go with one more question after this, ML, but we have quite a few guesses on your height and weight as a sophomore in high school. So let's kind of, Jamie, if you could pop up some of these guesses, and ML, that's not even close, brother, is it? Don't say anything yet. We're gonna keep going with the guesses. Just that's Todd Paris. Todd's from Oakland, California. 6'2", 190. 5'10", 6'1", 200. Oh, okay. Okay, we're getting closer. See if there's any more in here. All right, so there's more. I'm coming in now, but ML, we will. I want you to tell everybody what your height and weight was as a sophomore in high school.
You want me to tell them now?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's get it out.
All right, 6'5", 220.
See, 6'5", 220. So and the last question kind of ties into, you didn't play football until you got older in age, right? So tell us how that happened. I think your mom didn't want you playing, and so how did it all go down when you got into football?
My mom wouldn't allow me to play football. She didn't want me to get hurt, and she was nervous about that. So it wasn't until the 10th grade when I went to my mother and I said, "Mom, I need you to sign this physical card so I can get a physical, and a permission slip so I can get a physical and play football." And she said I couldn't play. I said, "Mom, when I wouldn't typically do this with my mom, but I want to play so bad." I said, "Mom, if you don't sign it, I'm gonna have to sign it." And I took the risk that, talking back to my mom like that she wasn't going to respond differently. And then she looked at me and she said, "You want to play that bad?" She said, "Okay, I'll sign it, but if you get hurt, you're gonna have to deal with me." I said, "Okay, I'm not gonna get hurt." So she let me play, and I went out and had an opportunity to start, playing. Back then, your grades were 10th, 11th, and 12th in high school.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah, that's a good story. That's funny. Hey, so Jamie, let's take one more question. I think we have a lot more questions in the chat areas right now. Jamie, if you could pop one of those up for us. I think Terry has a pretty good one. Or yeah, that's a good one there. That's the one I missed earlier.
I don't know if you can see that on the screen, ML, but it says, what was the eye-opening difference coming from the CFL to the NFL outside of the extra down? I know you talked about this a little bit before, but was there one big difference from the CFL game to the NFL game?
Well, I think that the CFL moved faster. It was a faster moving game when I was playing up there, and you only had 3 downs to make a first down. So, people going to the line of scrimmage, moving. There was constant movement going on all the time. So that was way different than what you see in the National Football League. You're seeing it a little bit more of it now, but you're still only seeing one guy moving at a time rather than, 3 or 4 guys moving, going towards the line of scrimmage. You're going to run forever out there, too, once you catch a ball. I mean, 80 yards is not going to score a touchdown unless you're 80 yards close. You have 25-yard deep end zones, so, and it's just a soccer field. You're playing football on a soccer field.
Yeah, good stuff. And there was another question tied into that. He wanted to know, in the Freezer Bowl, how did 300-pound offensive linemen find pantyhose big enough for him?
No comment.
Those are some big girl pantyhose right there.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't say everyone put them on anyway. So
yeah. Yeah.
I did. I was warm. My legs were warm and stuff like that. But towards the end of the game, the last 5 minutes of the game, I don't care what you had on, you was freezing. There was a lot of guys that had got frostbite ears and nose and eyes, and not eyes, but fingers, and it was just ugly. Eddie Edwards, man, his ear split and stuff like that. So it was just the last 5 minutes was we felt it. We felt it.
Yeah. Well, ML, man, look, first time I got a chance to talk to you live, and everything I've heard about you is 100% true. Class act. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. It means a lot. And we're going to go back and look to see who won that guess. But I think somebody came fairly close to it. But thanks a lot for being on with us, and we appreciate everything, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me. Y'all have a great day.
Keep up.
Yes, sir. Who day, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
See you.
Awesome. I tell you what, it's every time we have one of these former Bengals on, it's just, they're all class acts. I mean, they're just great guys, off the field, but what they did on the field was great, and it just continues. So great job, Jimmy, continuing to get these great old Bengals players on the show.
Yeah, it's just, these are guys I watched when I was really young, and I know of them, but I've learned more about ML Harris here the past couple of days doing research on him, and these guys, the story outside of football is greater than the football stories. I mean, these guys have done a really good job in their communities and for their families, and it's man, that 81 team was full of really good dudes, man. So it's really cool to see that. So
sure.
Well, let's go to our and actually we're going to tie in our Bengal History 101 into a little bit of what ML was talking about. We're going to go ahead. I'm sorry, Jamie, I'm messing with you right now. I think we're going to go ahead and go to let's go and do our History 101 now. Tom, what's up, buddy? How you doing, bud?
Pretty good, Jimmy. Sorry, I couldn't pinch hit.
No worries, man. Jamie's still there, man. He looks so bad, worse than normal. He couldn't be on the screen today, so sick. So, so Tom and I want to talk about some Bengal History 101. It's tying into what we just had, that we just talked to ML Harris about, some his memories behind that. But January 10th, 1982, Riverfront Stadium, AFC Championship game. First time the Bengals in the AFC Championship game. Bengals win 27-7. 27-mile-an-hour winds, 59 below zero wind chill. But let's talk about that week and things of that nature. Let's talk about it, and I'll let you kick it off, Tom.
Well, the week prior started really 8 days before that. One of the greatest games in NFL history, the Chargers at the Dolphins. And all due respect to the Chargers, and they deserved it. They won that game. It was hot down in Miami. They did get an extra day to get ready for the Bengals, but they had to fly to San Diego and fly back into that bitter cold. But it's not as if the Bengals had a bye week. The Bengals played a very good Buffalo team. It was a close game. Bengals were pretty much in control of it through it, but they got banged up pretty good. So then we come to the AFC Championship game. And, as we all know, just overnight, it went from a typical, if not maybe warm Saturday in January to the coldest day in Cincinnati history. And the Chargers did everything they could not to play. They lobbied the league to move the game to Monday night to a neutral site with better weather. They said no. And their team bus on the way to the stadium, for those that might remember, there was a tunnel underneath Riverfront Stadium on Maring Way, what was then Maring Way. Their team bus got into a wreck, and it was too cold for them to walk the rest of the way. So while they're waiting for things to get cleared up, they're listening on the radio, and the radio comes on, and the Humane Society is begging people to please. It is inhumane to let your pets out. Please bring your pets inside. And they're looking at each other from San Diego saying, we're going to go play football in this. I think it helped psych them out. I think truly their biggest problem, the Chargers' biggest problem that day and that year, was the Bengals were just simply better. The Bengals had just beaten the tar out of them in San Diego 6 weeks prior to that. And in both games, the Chargers got out coached, they got out hustled, they got out quarterbacked, and they got out defensed. but yeah, and you just hit ML on there. It was tough on both teams, but to show how psyched out the Chargers were, the refs had to practically drag them out of the locker room for the second half. They didn't come out.
It was crazy because I know the TV crews that were in town were having all kinds of problem with their connections and not able to. They were concerned about not being able to broadcast it even.
The power lines for NBC snapped, and local channel 12, just out of decency and respect for their profession, went ahead and made it possible for NBC to go ahead and broadcast the game. But Merlin Olsen had a really good point before the game with the Chargers, and they were serious about it, lobbying to move the game and so forth. Merlin Olsen gave a really good speech in the intro of the game that the Bengals had earned it. They'd earned it with their record that year. They'd earned it by beating San Diego in San Diego. They'd earned it by being the best team in the AFC, that game had to be in Cincinnati in front of the Bengals fans.
And it was, I'm trying to figure out where to go here next. So Hank Bauer was a player for the San Diego Chargers. And I read a comment that, he went out to the field pregame, and he goes, when he came out of the tunnel, man, it was like somebody throwing 100 knives at you. He goes back into the locker room and tells the guys, whatever you're putting on, it's not going to work. It's that bad out there. They literally had just got done playing in 88, 90 degree weather in Miami the week before, and coming into 59 below wind chill to play the Bengals. So the Bengals offensive line, ML Harris talked about a lot of this in our interview with ML just now, but the Bengals offensive line played the entire game without the sleeves or any under or gloves as well.
But before that, when Forrest Gregg went in, and a lot of the linemen, just like the other players, were getting creative as to how they were getting dressed for the game. And Forrest Gregg was always pretty direct, but in this case, he was kind of gentle and almost, I'm sorry. But he said, guys, I can't have Louis Kelcher and Gary Big Hands Johnson grabbing on your sleeves and pulling at you. You have to go short sleeves. And I guess they all just looked at him, and he said, look at it this way. It's like going to the dentist. It's going to hurt, but you have to do it. And then he turned around and walked out of the room. So that was a great line that played well together. They liked each other, communicated well, and they liked blocking for Kenny Anderson. But that whole game, the Bengals Forrest Gregg had him out schemed. Kenny Anderson had him out executed. There's from the highlights of that year. Phil Samp said, on such a windy day, Ken Anderson's passes sailed true, and they did.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Dan Fouts' passes just kind of sailed.
Yeah. So we're going to play a little bit of a clip here in a second, but we're going to talk about, Tom and I are going to talk about the fans, the experience that fans were trying to get to the stadium here. But let's play this little short clip about the Freezer Bowl. And most of you guys have seen this before. Let's go ahead and play that clip number 3, Jamie.
Full Riverfront Stadium turned into a scene from Dante's Inferno. A wind chill factor of 59 below transformed the AFC Championship game against San Diego into a test of wills. Ken Anderson and the Bengals defied the elements with flawless execution, while San Diego's Dan Fouts threw with frozen fingers, his passes fluttering in the frigid winds. In the end, this glorious icy afternoon belonged to the men in the funny helmets, men who had known hard times and high times, and who now wore their stripes as a symbol of pride. Cincinnati beat San Diego, and Forrest Gregg was off to the Super Bowl, the first man ever to appear as a player and a coach.
In that clip, Tom, to your point, you were just talking about Dan Fouts' passes. Do you see the fluttering duck getting interception there?
Yeah, Dan's I don't know if it's his heart or part of his mind never has thawed out from that game. That is a game that haunted that entire Charger team. Dan has hated the Bengals. He hasn't treated them fairly during a broadcast since then. He blames the city of Cincinnati for that. But, the NFL Network even did they had a great series called, the Missing Rings. And they gave the 1981 one to the Chargers because they were so talented. And, they had a chance to beat the Bengals twice, once in 80-degree weather in San Diego and once in the coldest day in NFL history. And they couldn't do it either time. But those guys, listening to those guys when they talk about it, they're still not over that loss, which does, as we well know, does happen to certain fan bases and teams.
Yeah, and I remember Dan Fouts talking about after the game, they're like delayed 3 to 5 hours in the airport, so they couldn't get the hell out of Cincinnati. But let's talk about, I remember, again, I was 10, 11 years old when this game was played. I just remember hearing all the stories about people somehow found out, if you've seen the clips there, I mean, the stadium was packed still, but there was people that couldn't get their car started. I mean, it's so cold back in the, 81, they couldn't get the car started.
Before and after the game, people had trouble getting their cars started and getting out. But I can remember getting home with my dad and then flipping on to watch some of the highlights. And Al Shuttlecock, he was on there laughing, and he said, and there were about 6 guys, probably those guys that didn't have shirts on, from down at Riverfront that were running around Fountain Square in a circle. And he said, these aren't the kind of championship celebrations we're accustomed to in Cincinnati. But he said, those 6 guys are doing their best to make up for everybody else who's home avoiding the minus 60-degree weather.
Yeah, I just remember, I had in my neighborhood, I had a bunch of friends in my neighborhood, and I'll never forget looking out the window and seeing all my friends running around without shirts on, and me wanting to go out there and do that. And my mom and dad were like, "No, you're not going outside without your shirt on." But I remember that vividly to this day. So, but great history 101 segment, Bengals Freezer Bowl, the stuff that happened the week before, the Bengals practicing outside. M.L. Harris shared some stories with us about that as well. The memorabilia for today is a very rare piece. This is the actual AFC Championship Freezer Bowl game day program from that day. So I was not there. But how many of those damn things didn't get bought that day because nobody could get the money out of their. I heard beer was freezing pretty quick. The UD Delights were frozen before they got back to their seats, and a lot of cardboard boxes and stuff they were sitting on, and standing on to prevent their legs and feet from getting cold.
Well, think about the difference. My uncle, due to age and some considerations, had to give up his season tickets a couple years back. But from game 1 in Nippert till the first game at Paul Brown Stadium, missed 1 home game. And that day, for his 4 tickets in the south end zone, where the wind was the worst, he went, my cousin went, a buddy of his went, in their 4th seat. Now, you couldn't do this. They took one of those. It was about a 3-foot high heater, portable heater, that didn't work. But, they tried. You try to get that in the stadium now, they think it was a bomb.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Tom, hey, I appreciate it. It's good talking AFC Championship game. It's one thing just watching that game, but talking about these things is more fun for me and everybody watching.
One quick thing that you mentioned, that team was full of really class guys. And I get a sense that this Zach Taylor team that is being assembled has the same type of guys, a lot of leaders, a lot of class guys, and a lot of guys that love to play football and love to work at playing football. So I think in starting with this season and the next couple of seasons, we're going to see a real renaissance, the spirit of that 81 team come back.
That's great comparison, Tom. I agree with you on that. So good stuff. Thanks again, Tom. We appreciate it, buddy. We'll see you next week.
Wear a mask. Protect Joe Burrow. Wear a mask.
Heck yeah. See you, buddy.
I think my house just dropped 20 degrees after all this freezer bowl.
Oh, man. Jeez, well, Pete, that's just it's fun talking about that game. Obviously, one of the more iconic games in Bengal history. But the stories of people trying to get to the game itself was even better.
Breaking down, and that's the first I heard about the Chargers trying to cancel it or get it postponed.
Oh yeah,
that's
good stuff.
You can see that coming from sunny California to Cincinnati, but hey, that's the one good thing about football. unless it's
Yep.
you're playing. So.
Well, let's go ahead and get to our fans of the week. Sue and Tom.
Hi.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey guys.
All right, so I'll just do a quick introduction. I'll be brief because we want you guys to talk. So Sue and Tom, I've known for many, many years, the early 2000s. They come in usually once a year. Sometimes they'll stay for a couple games, but they're in the middle of Green Bay Packer country, guys. And let's talk about it. How do you guys become fans living in Wisconsin?
Well, 1968. Well, it's 1967. I was looking through my Packer yearbook, and I looked at the final standings, and on the bottom it had a asterisk and said Cincinnati will be an expansion team the next year. So I figured it's best time to jump on is the very beginning. So it hasn't been easy sometimes, but I'm in too far right now to turn back.
I got
So
you.
what made you want to leave the Packers at that time when you saw Cincinnati was coming in as a new team?
He was only 12 years old, so were you a Packer fan at that time?
No, I actually like the Jets for a little bit. But yeah, it's been Cincinnati. There's no number two. I hate the Packers. I mean, if the Bengals lose, I want the Packers to lose.
There are people in Green Bay watching this show, Tom. You're in trouble.
I was a Packer fan, and I married him in '86, and it took me a couple of years to make the Packers my second team and the Bengals my first team. I mean, really, that Super Bowl in '88 was an awesome, and we actually started going to training camp in Wilmington at that time, and so we actually met Tom Gray one day at a bowling alley. We thought he was a bartender, and the next day he was out on the field, and it's like, are you with the bowling alley and they just let you on the field, or do you work for the Bengals? He goes, I'm the equipment manager. And he didn't tell us that the night before when we met him. So we actually became friends with him, and he actually let us go to the Spinney Field. You know, when we came down on a Saturday, he'd let us come to Spinney Field, watch them work out. We'd go after to help wash and fold up the uniforms and stuff.
After the Sunday game, yeah.
After the Sunday game. So that was a nice, and we got to meet players, and it was, yeah. I mean, I love going to training camp. Training camp was, even though it was so hot, it was always so hot.
Especially in Wilmington, yeah.
But I mean, when we first got married, the internet wasn't really, at least we weren't on the internet back in '86. So I had someone that I worked with who had parents that were down in Cincinnati, and they would actually record the games for us and send us VCR tapes so we could watch the games.
Wow.
So that was kind of cool. But
yeah,
we tried hard.
It's anticlimactic, though. I mean, you know the result. I mean,
yeah, we know, but we had to.
A week later, you're watching the game, and you know what,
Then we got and we can see it all the time.
NFL packages.
That's right. So just everybody that's watching right now or going to watch later on a delay, they are so diehard. They're driving around in Green Bay Packer country in an orange and black car. I don't know if we have that picture, Jamie. If we do, go ahead and pop it up. But they sent that to me early. I don't think I sent it to Jamie in enough time to get it up. But they have an orange and black car, and they've got their Bengal stuff on. So what do people give you a hard time? The Packer fans give you a hard time? They're pretty good with you or what?
It's good natured.
Okay.
We don't. Yeah, we're far. Yeah. It's fine. I mean, when we go to games, they're actually very nice because we'll always go when the Bengals are playing the Packers, either down in Cincinnati or up in Green Bay, and they're very nice to us. So
yeah,
a lot nicer than the Steeler fans are.
There it is. There it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at that whip.
He needed a new car, and we went to the car show, and it was there, and he goes, "I got to have it."
So yeah, I had a bad night at bowling, and a guy, Packers were playing the Bengals. And I says, "You're such a good Packer fan. Why don't you go to Cincinnati and back your team?" He says, "Well, you need somebody to fill a joint up." It's like,
yeah,
that's the kind of stuff you get.
Yeah,
and the whole, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, and his license plate does say Bengals on the back of it. That's pretty darn cool.
He has Florida Bengals, and I have Bengal fan. No,
Forever Bengal.
Forever, but yeah, I changed mine.
Forever Bengal.
Yeah.
How about that?
All right, so a question that we usually ask our fans of the week every week, and thanks so much for being with us, Sue and Tom.
Sure.
So, who's your all-time favorite Bengal player, and who's your current favorite player on the roster?
Go ahead. You go.
I would say Andy Dalton, but he's gone now. But he's my favorite current. And
You
James.
just have this thing for redheads, Sue.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Oh, he was a class act. I really liked him, and I thought he was a good quarterback, you know.
Yep.
And James Brooks was probably my favorite. When I first came into being a Bengal fan, and we go to training camp and stuff, I always thought he was a great player, and so those are my two.
Yeah, I kind of like the real humble kind of guys, like a AJ Green or Giovanni Bernard, Andy Dalton, Tim Crumry. I mean, nothing against Chad. Chad did a lot good for us, but you know, he was a little more flamboyant. You know.
Sure. Are you guys? You guys aren't drinking a Miller Lite by any chance, are you?
No, but I do have my Bengal. We do have our.
This is for Pete.
Yeah, we are
for Pete Johnson.
Yeah.
Oh,
I got
bourbon.
Whiskey.
Yeah,
Bourbon with Pete. Oh, if I would have known, guys, we could have had bourbon with Sue and Tom.
Yeah.
Getting brownie points for referencing other shows. Good job.
Yeah.
So we're getting all kinds of stereotypical Wisconsin comments in the chat area right now, Sue and Tom. Have you ever had cheese curds and do you go curling?
No, we do not curl, but cheese curds, absolutely. That is like the best.
I'm not big into cheese curds.
No, he's not. He's not. But you can deep fry them, eat them. You know, especially when they're fresh, they're squeaky
cheese.
Squeaky cheese.
Yeah.
Every time I fly back from Green Bay, I grab a little pack of the squeaky cheese for the kids.
Yep.
Remember that game we went to in Green Bay when we picked you up?
Yeah.
That was awesome. We came out with a win.
Yeah.
And how hot was it in Green Bay? How hot was it that night?
Yeah, that was very hot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we were at the Bengal game when Brett Favre started the game, and we lost. What did we lose?
Oh yeah, when he came in to back up Mikowski.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were there
the magic man went down, and the Bengals started Brett Favre's career. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were at that game. That's awesome.
Yes, we were at that game.
We were at the game where Sam White decided to run the ball on 4th down with 5 seconds left in the game, and then they threw a touchdown pass to
San Francisco. It was San Francisco game, right?
Yeah. On the last play, the fans were not happy.
Oh no. They were not.
So you guys get in how many times? It seems like you come in town pretty regularly. How many times you get into a game, a home game here in Cincinnati? You travel in town.
We try to come to 2 games is what our goal is. Sometimes we only make 1. We used to always want to go to the Steeler games because they were like the good games, but we've lost so many. It's very hard driving home 6 hours after the game. After you lose. And really,
right.
Steeler fans really actually were feeling sorry for us. I mean, they actually are nice to us, which is sad because we want to beat them, you know?
Yes.
The tide will turn. The tide will turn.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I'm hanging in there.
Yeah.
That playoff game. I wanted to win that one playoff game.
We're with you.
Do that all the time until that goes. But then now they'll say, "Oh, Andy didn't do it." Well, the whole team didn't do it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
All right. So last question. We always want to close with this one. Fan of the week. Give us your prediction for this year, record wise.
I'll let Tom do that.
Oh no, you're not getting out of this. So we want one from each of you.
I'm thinking. The experts say 5.5 is over under, but I'm not. I'm going over that. I gotta say 9-7.
Okay.
I know you're a 10-6 guy.
Oh, and
I'm a 16-0 guy. I'm myself. So.
I was actually gonna say 8-8. That's what I was.
Hey, both of those are reasonable guess. By the way.
Every year I do say this is the year we're gonna go to the playoffs, but we got a new quarterback, even though he should be awesome. I mean. I hope we get to play this year and we get to see him. I'd be very disappointed if we don't. So
isn't that great? They got to beat the Browns, though. Just beat the Browns.
Yeah, that's our goal.
That's my worst team. I hate them. I mean, Johnny Football, Mayfield.
Okay, don't.
Hey, let me ask Tom. Say, can you say I hate him again, real quick?
I hate him.
Yeah, it's awesome. Awesome. Well, guys, Sue, Tom, it means a lot you guys being with us. Thanks so long for hanging on and watching the show. And hey, we love you. You guys have been diehard fans. Just because you're not here in Cincinnati doesn't mean you're as diehard as anybody in the country, anybody in the world. We appreciate you and the Bengals organization. Appreciate you, I'm sure, because you guys are as diehard as it gets thank you so much for being with us today.
Rest in peace for Ricky Dixon too.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point, man. Great point. Awful news. Awful news.
I know.
Thanks for all you do too.
Yeah, thanks. Keep it up. We'll be watching.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Hooday.
Okay. Bye. See you guys.
See ya.
Converted his wife. He sounds like me from a Packers fan. Jeez.
Yeah, they're the best people, man. They're so nice. They're the best people. The people you meet through football, the people you meet through Cincinnati Bengals football, I'll tell you, it's awesome stuff. So let's get into the question of the week here. We're slightly behind, but not too far.
Not too bad. We're doing good this week.
Yeah, go ahead, James, and run with this one.
What was your first impression of Joe Burrow as an official Bengal? Well, I mean, I think class act. I honestly, we did the contest on social media when he was going to sign. Did you ever get a chance to go back and look, Jimmy, to see who was the closest?
I did, and actually, I will look at that right now. Somebody came really, really close on that, but go ahead and keep going with your comments on that.
It was never a question of whether he was going to sign, not like the old days when, had always dragged into the training camp or into the start of the season. So that's one good thing the NFL did was basically, here's your slot, here's the money you're going to get, just sign the contract. So we didn't have that. We knew he was going to sign before the season started. And Tuesday at what was the actual time, Jimmy?
It was Friday. I'm looking for it right now. Hold on. I'll find it here in a second.
But, he's in camp.
The official signing was going to be based on when he actually signed the dotted line, not when it was announced through third parties. We knew he was signing earlier in the week. He agreed to terms, but official was Friday. I'm getting that time here.
As you look for that, but he's here. He's in the fold. Now I think get on the field, do all the COVID tests. We've seen what's happened in baseball with people not adhering to the rules and players going outside the box and all that. So, the NFL has an uphill battle with this, with keeping the players contained. And obviously it's going to be even harder with the contact sport. But, just going to think positive. And I think you have the time, Jimmy. So we're the game of who is the closest. So go ahead.
So on July 23rd, we posted a Joe Burrow signing poll on all of our social media platforms. And that was on July 23rd, which was a Thursday, I think. In my mind, I thought he was going to sign the very next day. And the stipulation was when he actually signed, not when people were announcing it, when he actually signed the contract. So Tyler, don't have his last name on Twitter, said July 31st, which was Friday at 1:05 p.m. The actual official announcement from the Bengals came on July 31st at 11:24 a.m. So he was less than a couple hours off of the actual prediction. So everybody was thinking it was going to be that Friday or early the following week when the Bengals made the official announcement. But Tyler won that, and we'll be sending him a mask and a shirt, a T-shirt, Bengals T-shirt as well for his guest. There was hundreds of guesses on all three of our platforms and social media. There was a ton of people that gave guesses on that. So that was a fun little thing we did.
And
so
looking at this chat here, Laura May has a good comment. First impression of Burrow is he's a class act, very humble, and would definitely use this platform for the good. So I think we're all in agreement with that. We've seen that, going back to a lot of the interviews he did leading up to the draft. People like Dan Patrick trying to put a spin on, what he was saying he doesn't want to come to Cincinnati, which was all BS. So going back through all that, I mean, he's been humble, honest, and a class act. I don't know how else to describe it. His senior year at LSU was, awesome, and this was the year where we had the first round pick. Got him. Obviously, everything going on in the world has slowed things down a little bit, but he's officially in the fold, and now it's all moving forward. I liked what Tom Justin had to say about the class act of this team and the character guys that Zach has brought in. There was a lot of questionable characters under Marvin, maybe one of the knocks when you're talking about Marvin Lewis and the players in his regime and maybe why they didn't win more or why win a playoff game. But I think Zach and the other brass at the Bengals are taking the time in constructing this team, who they're drafting, and we do see a lot of class acts and leaders coming into the fold.
Yeah, and my read on it was just straight. The two things that came to my mind immediately when I was listening to his presser was confidence and leadership. I mean, I think the guys are going to follow. They're going to run through a brick wall for that guy. So confidence and leadership were the two things that came to mind the first 60 seconds of that interview process. It is funny, kind of looking at him. You could tell he's been working out. He's got this like little kid's face, but he's been working out. He looks good. And I love the comment his dad made when they asked his dad, Jim Burrow, who played in the Canadian Football League, by the way. I found a film clip of him intercepting, getting an interception when I was looking for some clips for ML Harris. But when they asked Dad about him signing a contract, he said, now I can move out of my basement. So Joe's been living in his mom and dad's basement for a little while here, but very, very good guy, confidence, leadership. And you can't compare Andy Dalton and Joe Burrow, but the one thing the trait that I like is he's got a little boomer-esque attitude in him, which I didn't think Andy Dalton had. Andy Dalton was a great quarterback. I loved Andy, but I like the boisterous leaders. I like those guys that can show it and talk about it and lead not just with their action, but also if somebody is not doing what they're supposed to do, he's going to call them out. I didn't see that as much in Andy. So I think if there's a quarterback in Bengals history that we're going to compare him to, and I think he's going to be better, but I think his leadership ability, I think more is more compared to Boomer than any quarterback I've seen in the Bengals uniform. So
we're going to do one quick thing here in the chat and something brewing on Mixon's Twitter. We know he's up for a potential contract extension. We can go back to our last 5 or 6 shows, talk about that, the potential of, what's his contract going to be? Is it going to be what Derrick Henry signed? Obviously not as much as Christian McCaffrey's in Carolina. But he had an interesting tweet. I don't know if Jamie can pull it up, but it was something about making a big boy decision or something like that.
He's out. He was out. So I'm glad you brought it up, James. I didn't even have it on my list to talk about. I'm glad you brought that up. So he's out looking for houses. He is out looking for houses in Cincinnati. That is a fact. So
it's good, which means he's going to plan on being here for a while. Which I think as Bengals fans, that's what we want. My biggest thing was, there you go, Jamie, pulling it up here. Got real life decisions to make. Yeah, that was the tweet 3 hours ago. But as Bengals fans, we all want Joe here. I think he's got a bright future ahead. I look forward to seeing what he can do behind a little more solidified offensive line, and then of course playing alongside Joe Burrow. So exciting times ahead. We know the Bengals like to get contracts done before the season starts. So if it's going to happen, it's probably going to happen soon. And hey, I'm all for it. Let's get him in the fold.
Yep. Joe Burrow's here. T. Higgins is here. Don't want to overlook T. Higgins. Man, that receiving core excites the hell out of me, James. T. Higgins, Boyd, Teasel Pete, who am I missing? John Ross is going to stay healthy this year and catch balls and get his confidence back. Auden Tate, man, I'm excited about the receiving core. But well, let's go ahead and close it out, Jamie. James, anything else you want to say before?
No, I think it's exciting. That we talked about last week. The rookies were starting to come in, get their testing in. We've only had one player opt out, Josh, on the defensive line. So that's been good. You look at New England, who's had 7 or 8. I think they're just trying to do everything they can to get the first round pick next year and grab Trevor Lawrence. But I think what we've seen thus far, you have to like it. It seems like everybody's in, everybody's committed. And now if everybody can stay healthy, hopefully we'll see some football coming up this fall.
Yep. One point, Tupou, with him opting out now because of the COVID, the word is, and we do have some insight on this one, that Pecco does have some offers on the table from some NFL teams. He does have an offer on the table from Buffalo, but the Bengals and Pecco are talking right now. Now, I've heard comments about he's past his prime. He's a washed up. Look, he's definitely past his prime, guys. But we are looking for backup depth at that defensive line with Tupou not being there, and Peko would be a great addition as backup and depth, not starter, not somebody they're going to count on to contribute. But I think it would be a great signing to add some depth there if that happens.
He could be that wily veteran that teaches some of these young guys along that front, and also obviously another high character guy, Delmatov, through the years, A+ character. Obviously bounced around a little bit to Denver and then Baltimore last year. But if he comes in and can be a mentor and, play a couple snaps a game, that could be a perfect role for him as his career winds down.
Yep, he literally still owns a house, I think, over in the Northern Kentucky area, the Triple Crown area. So he still has a house over there. So I could see the Bengals and him working this thing out, man. I know he wants to finish his career here, and that would be a good thing, a fun thing, definitely a fan favorite for sure. So, from my end, guys, thanks everybody for being part of this as we continue to grow this thing, and we're looking to make some announcements here about game days here in probably another couple weeks on what we're planning on doing and how we're going to do it responsibly. I want to thank Jamie for still hanging in there with us. Sick as a dog right now, but he's producing a show, not on screen, but he is still producing a show. Thanks for being part of it, Jamie, as always. Thanks to everybody for being part of the show. We have a lot of fun with it. ML Harris, thank you so much for being with us today as well. ML Harris was an awesome interview. Very good dude. And I can't officially announce next week's guest. We have a couple folks lined up here. I'm just going to throw out some names because that puts more pressure on me to make it happen, James. Pac-Man, maybe coming up here in the next week or two. Reggie Williams, maybe the next week or two. We have an inside line on possibly a current player on the roster right now as well. All this before the end of August. It is August 2nd today. The year is flying. The sooner this year gets over with, the better. But so, guys, we appreciate everything. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe. Wear your mask. Protect you, your loved ones, and everybody else. Thanks so much for being part of this, guys. We appreciate it. Stay safe and Hoo Day.
Thanks, everyone. See you next Sunday.